All right, it looks like we are live. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see some of you already watching and on the chat. Welcome to this week's Vercel community live session. We're really excited to have you here. I'm Pauline, one of your moderators for today's session. And joining me is Amy over here. And you've probably seen us around the community space answering your questions and like engaging with you all. And we usually do this all like asynchronously. So this is always a great opportunity to connect with you all in more of a dynamic format. So this is always really fun. If you are in the chat, drop a message and let us know where you're tuning in from. It'd be really cool to see where everyone is listening in from. If this is your first time joining one of our sessions and you can't see the chats for any reason, no worries. Just make sure that you sign in with your Vercel account on the top of the page and navigate back here. Click going in the event box below and you'll unlock the chat. We'll have plenty of time for questions at the end. So yeah, just throw them into the chat and we'll get to them at the end. Amazing. I'll pass over to Amy.
Hi, I just want to remind everyone to abide by our community code of conduct, as always. I can drop a link in the chat, but you can also always find this up in the top menu and down in the footer. Your participation is really what makes these sessions so fun and so valuable for everyone, and we want to be able to keep doing them, so just keep it positive and respectful. And now I just want to jump into today's topic. I'm going to introduce Haifa and Pandalis from Cosine AI, and let's welcome them to the stream.
Hello.
Hi folks. Nice to see you both. All right, we will pass the ball over to you and we can kick off the demo.
Yeah, so hi guys, my name is Haifa. I am a project engineer at Cosine. You can all see my screen, amazing. So like I said, hi, I'm Haifa. I'm excited to show you guys and introduce you guys to Cosine, Genie, our AI-powered engineering colleague. I'm going to walk you through who we are, Cosine, what Genie is, what Genie does, what we do, and then dive right into a product live demo, showing you a few use cases using all things Vercel. I hope by the end of this, you'll walk away with a little bit of a better understanding of how AI can go beyond just generating code and actually empower software developers. Cool. So yeah, like I said, I'm a product engineer at Cosine. We're an AI lab focused on human level reasoning. We're building Genie, our fine-tuned model, which has been trained using GPT-4o as part of OpenAI's experimental program. Genie's been trained on real-world examples of how software engineers think, work, tackle tasks, not just the final working code output. Unlike traditional AI tools that mostly act as autocomplete or sole prompt-based assistance, Genie is designed to understand your engineering workflow and seamlessly integrate into it, tackle issues autonomously, plan, execute, iterate, and importantly, reason. So I know for me personally, the biggest frustration I've had with AI coding tools is that 9 times out of 10, it's missed the broader context. So you end up kind of having to hold its hand, explain your repo structure, tell it how you do things, your coding styles, your best practices, essentially just teaching them how you work in like an iterative process. Again, the model's only seen the final code, not the entire process. But Genie actually indexes your repo and applies context. So it's not starting from scratch. It integrates with your workflows, your CI pipelines, your best practices. Genie can be assigned tickets and tasks, just like an engineer working with you or autonomously handing off and handling tasks by itself. Most of this session is going to be a bit of a live demo, and we know that those can go wrong. So let's just walk through what we are planning. We're going to integrate with Vercel, GitHub, Jira, We're going to try and tackle a few tasks. We'll show you how you can just assign tickets to Genie and see how it tackles bugs and backlogs. We'll create a new feature, deploy it on Vercel, look at the changes, see if we need to make any changes to that as well. And then if we have time at the end, we'll try and fork an existing repo and see how Genie can tackle some open issues that are currently live right now. So yeah, let's dive right into it. And I'm going to start by looking at this marketing site that actually I used V0 to whip up really quickly. I needed a site to use as a demo, so I just wanted a multi-page site here, products, contacts, about, which is, yeah, pretty nice, and use that as our demo, and it's deployed on Vercel. So we're going to dive into Cosine, which is in dark mode currently, and I have already, if I go into here, my team, my Cosine demo team, I've already imported this repo marketing site. And if I go into integrations, I can see that Jira.
Top right to switch to light mode.
Oh,
Yeah, top right.
am I not in?
To switch to light mode.
Oh, into light mode, got you. Top right, apparently. There we go. Okay, we could put it into light mode as well. Thanks, Vanellis. So yeah, we can see that we've already integrated with GitHub and we have integrated with Jira as well. So I can just show you that board right now. And it has a few tasks in our backlog. It has a few features here in our marketing backlog. And let's see if we can essentially tackle those tasks. So we've integrated GitHub, like I said, Jira, and then the one thing left from that stack or ecosystem is Vercel, which is pretty important. And before I do that, I will just show you why it's so important and what it's actually being used for. So if I head over back into my project and head into the settings of this project, I can see that I have this workflow section. And essentially, Genie needs to know that the changes it's made is working or not. We need to give it a success criteria to say, okay, validate your work and only pass if it fulfills this criteria. So that could be your CI pipelines, you're running your tests, you're deploying to Vercel, for example. So you can do that for GitHub, but for us, we're going to save the deployment as our success criteria. So we need to integrate that. And it's as simple as just heading over, installing, and adding the integration that we have. So we assign it the Vercel team, and it's as simple as that. That is just now integrated the project. But we still need to do a few things. We still need to go into my project settings, and let's just remove that. Essentially, what we want to do is say to Genie, if I have lots of deployments under my Vercel account that I've just integrated with, I need to say that for this project, this repo, the deployment that it matches to and that I want to use is, and then choose that kind of deployment. So if I press add deployment, I go in, select my marketing site, and let's just save that. Cool. We've now saved the deployment, and this is what, for this project, Genie is going to use as its success criteria. Cool. So now we're almost there. We can almost get some tasks running. So let's go see how that looks. So we have our task viewer over here. And the way that I like to think about it is that this is essentially you giving Genie as much useful, helpful context and information that it needs to do the task at hand. And it's cool that you have your files already here, so you can reference files and give it even more useful information. So here, like I said, there's our file tree of all the repo that we've just imported and the project that we've imported. And this middle bit is the prompt where we write our prompt. So you might have seen this kind of UI similar before. If I wanted to update the contact us page with some images, I might have a folder that has the relevant images. If I press the slash command, I can specify the kind of context I want to give it. I might want to say, read the specific file. I also might want to say, actually read the specific folder. And the one that I think is quite cool as well, you do internet search and a URL. Say you are migrating from one tool to another tool, or upgrading a version, and you have an external guide to do so. You can give that as context as well to Genie for that task. So yeah, you can do that all here in this prompt bit. But also what you can do is on the right here is give it an issue, give it a task. So that could be your open GitHub issues. It can be your whatever project management tool you use. So Linear, Jira, for us it's Jira because we've integrated it. And you can see those tickets that we had on our board, we have here also. So we have a few tickets. And if I wanted to start a task using these issues, I would just select it and start it. So all that information from that ticket will be used as context for this specific task. But we're not going to do it from there. What I'm about to show you is how we can hand things off to Genie without actually being in Cosine. So we need to do a bit of setup for that. Again, back into the magical land of project settings. And if I scroll all the way to the bottom, I can see that there is a Genie Jira label section. And essentially a Genie Jira label, or just a label, is saying that I'm going to create a label here. And anytime I want to start a task in Cosine, I will attach this label to my Jira tickets. And it will go ahead and just start that task in Cosine without you having to come in and to do that. So let's go ahead and do so. I'm going to make my label, send to Genie demo. A bit wordy, but we'll go ahead and create that. Perfect. If I wanted to rename that, I could go in, do so. And if I go all the way back into my Jira board, let's do a bug. Let's do this bug here. So I can see that this bug is saying that the navigation highlight is not working for the page that I'm on. So if I go back to my prod deployment, I'm on products, but there's no way to indicate that I'm actually on these pages from the navigation itself. So that doesn't seem right. Let's go ahead and fix it. So we created that label, send to Genie demo, and we're gonna send to Genie demo. Create that label and assign it. You can still assign tickets to people, a human being. Let's assign it to myself, the reporter, the parent, the team. We're not removing anything from your existing development workflow and project management system. We're just, also introducing the ability to get Genie to work on tasks as well. So yeah, that's already started the task in Genie. And how do I know that? If I go into the ticket, I should see a comment. Perfect. I see a comment from Genie and from Cosine saying that Genie is working on this task. So you can imagine the flow where I have a backlog of tickets and I want Genie to have a go at. I can just go ahead, add this label, assign it to all these bunch of tickets in the backlog, and let Genie start the process over on Cosine. And when I want to go see and have a look and have a peek to see what's going on, it also brings the link in the comment as well. So I'm just going to click on that and let's see what is going on. So yeah, so this is a task view when a task has been started. You can see that Genie has started to work on this task and hasn't quite managed yet to create, hasn't quite yet made any changes. But if I click onto overview, I can see that it's starting to create a plan of how it's going to address these changes. So I know for me, if I have a repo that I've never touched before and a task, I will maybe take keywords from that task and then maybe do a keyword search in the repo, try and find the files and the folders and the structures that will help me achieve the task. And essentially that's because Genie's seen engineers work in the way that they do, it's kind of doing the same thing as well. So you can see it's working through that plan, and once it's happened, I'm happy, it's starting to formulate a coding plan. And if I go back to the editor, we missed it, but it wrote a bunch of this code and edited the layout. And if I just scroll to the bottom, this is the coding plan, it's worked on that. And if I go to checks, this is essentially the check that we said, right? We created the success criteria that was deployed to Vercel. And if it doesn't work, then use the output and the logs and try again and have a go. Use that as your new context to continue the task and working on it. And it will do that iteratively. Genie by design is agentic, so it will be in that loop. Cool, but we can see that it actually has deployed. We can see if I go into GitHub, I can see the PR has been created with the changes it's made that commit. I can also see that within Cosine without having to actually go into GitHub. So I can see this is what it's done. It's made a few changes, but let's see visually if it's actually done what we needed to do. And if not, we'll come back in here and iterate over. So into the checks we go, view it on Vercel, and let's have a look. Cool. So it looks like it has done that. I'm on homepage. I'm on about. I can see a highlight. I can see it's bold. The highlight looks a bit thick, but it's fine. The underline. But it's actually doing exactly what we wanted it to do. So I wanted to change the color and say, actually, you know what? I don't want it to be white and bold. I kind of wanted it to be, I don't know, red or something. Say we can go ahead back into here and say, actually, I'd like the navigation link to be highlighted with the color red instead. Cool. So it's taken a second to have a think about that and said what the plan is for that. And I should be able to see some changes happening in the editor based on the new prompt, I guess, that we've given it, and said, actually, make an update. So if we go into summary, we can see right here at the bottom, it should start implementing implementing that color. So we can see perfectly. We've got the coding plan. It's going to actually update the navigation styling, and we should see that actually happening here as well. We can see that it's actually updated to text red and highlighted over, and we can see that happening. And so if I go back into my checks, that hasn't run yet. But again, I personally really enjoy being able to see the visual changes and seeing that it's actually doing what it needs to do. And once I'm happy with it, I can go ahead and merge the code because it's exactly what I wanted. So yeah, let's view that on Vercel. And perfect. It's probably not the best stylistically or accessibility wise, but it did what it was supposed to do. And what? So if I go into Cosine and look at my pull request, I think I'm happy with that. A human being can come in and check and make any final changes before merging, and I can go ahead and merge that request. And that's perfect. It's done all that. And if I come back into Cosine, I can see that that task was closed and marked as completed, which is amazing. So let's move on to another one. This time, let's actually do it through the right-hand side. And instead of fixing a bug, let's create a new feature. So we can see we have a few update and adding of new career pages. Let's do the careers page. It says, add a new careers page to our marketing site, have a benefits section, showcase some testimonials, a section on London and why it's the best city in the world, etc. And making sure, most importantly, that careers is also added to the navigation. So yeah, let's start this task. And similarly, what I'm expecting is I haven't really said to it, oh, what style to do, but because I have similar styles and similar components on the repository itself, I'm kind of expecting it to pick on that. And if not, we can go ahead and iterate over. Amazing. So yeah, giving it a second to go back into the context plan, you can see it's actually locating for the directory, looking for the pages, where should it put the careers page, I guess. And yeah, doing all those fun things. So yeah, similarly, again, the checks that will run will be the checks that the deployment. But this time we're actually adding something new. So previously we had a code bug in there, so there was already code implemented that wasn't quite working. But this time we're expecting it to add completely new code essentially. So yeah, it's figured out that it needs to add it to the layout file. It needs to add a new one. And we can see it's made a few changes. It's actually added that new careers page here with some text, which is fun. And yeah, it's implementing over here. And you can see that this is a time where actually it didn't deploy. It didn't work as it's expected. And it's going to actually use this log to kind of iterate over itself and figure out why it's not working. So if we view on Vercel, we can see the log here. So it looks like use path name has already been declared. So that's something, if I was to see that task, I'd go in, look for where it's duplicated, and go ahead and remove that. So that's exactly what we're hoping Genie does as well in its plan. Just scroll to the bottom. It's doing the same thing now, where it's now finding and looking for the file that has that that extra path name import. And if we go into code, we can see that it's actually still doing its implementation. So this is quite a nice UI here, where we can see the searching, we can see the aim, as well as the plan. But over here, we can see the summary, of course, as well. So yeah, we're just going to make sure to see if it's has made any changes. We're going to give it a second. And once that works, that can go back in, and so you can see that's actually looping on itself and starting the task and fixing it over here. So let's just hope it can give it a few goes and a few tries. Cool. Let's do some observations. It might not have a fun time with it either, which is fine as well. We can always go in and edit it from here, but also you can go ahead and edit it from your code side. But at least it started you on the process of the task at hand. So yeah, it goes over in its agentic loop, and we'll keep having a go and using that as a feedback loop. And whilst maybe we'll leave this actually to have a go. And whilst we are doing that, we can create a new task. So one of the things that I thought we could do as well is go into an open repo that is right now open source, like Cosine, and fork out the repository and look at some of the GitHub issues and see if actually Genie can have a go. Maybe we won't be able to see the full deployment actual process, but we can see how easy it is to just go through open source as well, which I know a lot of people do as well, and just have a go that way as well. So let's go ahead and look for Cosine GitHub. And what we're going to want to do is press this button, lovely button over here, and fork this out. Amazing. Cool, perfect. So this should take all of the latest issues on GitHub as well. And if I go back into Cosine, we did import previously this marketing site. And to import a new project, we'll just press this. And because we've imported our GitHub account, we should see it over here, but that might not have created the same. I think I'm in the wrong account. Give me 1 second. Let's do it from here. So Cosine GitHub. Gotta do it from an organization. Might not be able to find it. Give me a second. Well, I might not be able to get it from my actual account, but what I can do is go into my personal and install it from there. From here, amazing, authorize that and have access to it. Apparently not, apparently it's not playing nice today. And that might just be different repository issues, but let's go ahead and go check and look at the careers page and have a see if it managed to work. Cool. Let's have a look at what the different new error is. Seems to be the same use path name that has already been added. And let's just give it the context and say, we can find the file ourselves. Looks like that is in a node module, use path name next navigation. If we just scroll all the way to the bottom, it's run out of attempts. Okay, perfect, that's fine. We can say that there is a duplicate, use path name in layout text. Oh, please remove. And that should start it off again, just because it's gone over in its agentic loop, which is fine. At least it can go ahead and find it again, going through the same process that we had before. Amazing. Again, it's going pretty fast in this aim, plan, and observation, making sure that it's having all the context it's needed. Amazing. So we can see here, the implementation, it says, I'm going to remove it, and telling us the plan. So if I go back in, hopefully this will work. If not, all good as well. Cool. It might get stuck in its agentic loop, which is fine, of course. And if that's the case, I think we can close out this task. But yeah, I think hopefully, anyways, you've got a slight idea of the kind of tasks, the kind of backlogs. I personally see one of the cool things and cool use cases of Genie is that there is always a lead time with bugs that you might have. So if you want to create a new feature that's reactive to the market, for example, you might have a lead time of 2 or 3 months because of that backlog. And so if Genie can get you a little bit of the way of tackling those tasks, then for the ones where your engineers can work on other tasks, that would be, I think, pretty cool, and it's a really cool use case. And it's something that I personally, in my career, have kind of seen as well. So yeah, I think I'll stop sharing and pass it over to Pauline, if I can find.
Hi.
Somewhere.
Yes, that was perfect. Thank you so much. I just wanted to highlight before we go into questions. There's people in the comments saying like, this is the beauty of live demos. There's so much courage in doing them. So thank you so much for running
No,
through
it's
that.
fine.
Even though it wasn't super smooth, but it was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Amy, do you want to kick off with questions?
Yeah, we had one from the chat, and they wrote in, so how is this different to other AI coders? Is it specific to Next.js, or does it work for other frameworks too?
Either of you could take that one.
Okay. Hi guys. Sorry, we didn't really intro at the beginning, but hi, I'm Pandelis, CTO here at Cosine. Great question, Mr. Mystery Viewer, or Miss or person. How are we different? Yes, we're not. So no, we're not Next.js specific. We've been building Genie or Cosine and specifically our model Genie to be able to work within any repository. And the way we go about doing that is Genie's kind of taught or fine-tuned to behave like a human engineer. So like when you are given a task, you navigate a repository in a certain way, you look at files, you may search the internet for documentation. These are all things we've taught Genie how to do. So the idea is if an engineer knows how to do something, maybe we can distill that knowledge down into a model that can also kind of figure it out on its own. And that approach kind of utilizing also like the vast knowledge of the base model, right? So we're GPT-4o fine-tune, utilizing the vast knowledge that model has about how to code, about coding languages, best practices, etc. That plus our fine-tune on top on how it navigates and understands and adds to its own context. That's what kind of hopefully allows it to work in a lot more code bases or in a much more generic fashion. How we're different from kind of other agents or other similar products, there's kind of this gradient of how agentic a model can be. You have your co-pilots, which are very much you are coding and it's kind of predicting as a kind of predictive model. GitHub have also just launched a bit of an update to that with their GPT-4o fine tune of that. But it's very much like you are making decisions and it's suggesting things and you can and cannot accept them. There's more kind of ones that also sit within your editor, like your cursors, like your lovables, like your GitHub Copilot workspaces, or also GitHub Copilot chat and such, which exist with you, but you're still working with them and it's applying code to your computer, right? You are the final editor. You are like, it's suggesting to you and you can accept or not accept. Our approach is agentic first. And we design it around this, the UI for Genie is a human type UI, right? So we want to meet you where humans are today. So the same way, if you employ someone, they'll be in your Slack. If you bring in an engineer, you'll intro them, you onboard them into your Linear, your Jira, what have you, and you'll assign tickets to them. You'll give them work in a kind of ticketing type fashion. And we take the approach that Genie is a colleague, not just kind of an AI that sits on your computer that kind of helps you from time to time. It's kind of hopefully something that you can hand work off to. And that allows you to go off and do other things, right? A lot of the other products, maybe you have to kind of sit there and babysit them a little bit, or they're just suggesting to you. What we want with Genie is that you can hand work off to it, go have a coffee, go into a meeting, come back, and it's done some work for you and made your day more productive.
That's awesome. And it does feel very much like working with an engineer, right? You've got the tickets and you're just handing them off. And yeah, it's doing it. Like you said, you go off to a meeting, you come back, at least something has been done and you might need to tailor it, but that's great. Because we're talking with the Vercel community here, I have to ask, what Vercel features or specific APIs is Cosine built on, or is it using as part of this workflow? And either of you feel free.
Jump in at any point. We were coming up with demos for this or an idea for what to demo. If it was like talk about some of her previous experience with migrating app router and stuff, previous pain at a previous org. But we love, yeah. I mean, I'm where's my hat? I love a good bit of Next. I've been a bit of a Vercel fan since the Zeit days, if you can believe that. Since Zeit.co. The features we like the most, right, is it is a Next app first and foremost. We like to use app router. Some of this, it's a highly complex UI, right? So we use a lot of the server side suspense boundaries and some hydration to kind of make sure that we componentize things up and code split in ways that make it not take a million years to load. We also integrate, as in we have a Vercel integration because we like Vercel CI as a form of deploying things, and some of our customers also use Vercel a lot, right? It's a destination. If you have a Next app, that one of the first places that you might go about deploying that is Vercel, right? So we also have this integration at the CI level where if it's either GitHub Actions or if you deploy to Vercel, we can also feed back into that agentic loop and get feedback from at the Vercel level. But the product itself, also our website, is also on Vercel as well. We do some fun things with middleware as well, so that we like to have everything under one domain. So there's no like app dot or whatever, it's just cosine.sh. Personally, I mean, it's my hot take, but if your app is on app dot subdomain of your URL, you lose respect in my eyes. So that's something we utilize the kind of middleware there to be able to, if you're logged in, you're just in the app. If you're not, then you're on the regular marketing site. Those are some nice features that allows us to do as well. But mainly we're just Next fans, and it's just a great place to put Next.
Great, amazing. That was fantastic. If Amy, do you have any follow-up questions with that, or
No, please go ahead.
Amazing. Someone's in the chat just said, Noah from the chat actually just said, nice. Is there a V0 hat? I will pass that on to the team internally. We should have V0 hats, to be honest. Awesome. So I just want to like kind of move to a different topic, which is actually developer experience, which I am obsessed about and I can talk about for days. I guess like I wanted to hear kind of your take on how you feel Cosine can help streamline the developer experience. I guess related to that question is like who's like using Cosine right now, and how kind of what is the feedback that you're getting in these early days?
Cool. I don't mind chatting a little bit about the developer experience and then hand it off to you, panelists, on the customer side. I know personally, like I've only been at Cosine for a few weeks, and so I've been playing around with Genie, and I can already see how it's integrated in my kind of workflow. I mean, pretty much everyone use like ChatGPTs to kind of figure out, and I think I mentioned it in the presentation that I feel like a lot of it is me maybe being a little bit rude to ChatGPT, saying, actually, no, that's not what I wanted. It's this file, and copy and pasting and kind of being quite sassy. But at least with like when I'm using Genie and using Cosine, like it already has that kind of context. And for me, onboarding, even just onboarding onto a repo, I was able to kind of like figure out where things lived, and so immediately was of course assigned tasks to get started on like my first day. And so it's quite cool to be able to just use that as my starting point. And the same way as that, like we mentioned in that, and you could see like it was doing searches. I mentioned that, yeah, I do the exact same thing, and I've always done it since I've started like learning how to code. It's probably one of the things that is really ingrained within my like process, I guess. So it's quite cool that Genie has seen engineers like me, or just in general, do the same thing, and can do that too as well. So I personally think like, yeah, it's cool to be able to hand things off as well. And I've been in teams where I think for me, I think I mentioned again, I'm like repeating what I'm saying, but I mentioned that like, yeah, it'll be really nice. I've been in teams where I couldn't work on the exciting features because we had this huge backlog that someone has to address, right? Not everyone can work on the most like shiniest and brights. There's a lot of legacy code, a lot of migrations, which can be a nightmare sometimes because people all have different opinions. And it's really cool that like I could imagine there being a source of truth, and getting Genie to at least get started, and then we can pick it up. That's like a pretty cool use case that I think it's quite enjoyable. So in terms of developer experience, like I can only see it enhancing from a non-biased point of view. Yeah.
Amazing, awesome. Pandelis, anything to add there?
Gonna put any better. I mean, yeah, like as engineers, there's a ton of boring stuff that we have to do every day. I mean, the reason why we're doing Genie as a company, right, is we're selfish as engineers. So we're going to spend all our effort making our life better first before we go and tackle any other problems. So us as engineers, what are the problems that we face, and we're tackling those first. And it's like I don't want to do. I despise having to do like the work that comes in from my PM. That is half the time like, I'll move this button, or oh, this customer needs this thing, or like, oh, and I'm just like, but what about the fun things that I got to do over here? So I'd love we want to be able to hand as much as that over to like an agent and just like let it do its thing. I'll come back to it a bit later. It's either kicked me off a little bit or got me quite far, or hopefully even done it. And as models get better and better, that percentage of how much it's just fully done hopefully eclipses most of my day, and I can go on holiday. That's my developer experience that I want.
Well, and everyone knows that way. If you have a good developer experience, you have happy developers, and then everyone is just productive overall and happy. So yeah, thank you so much for that. We have a question in the chat. Again from Noah. Thank you for being so engaged. Hello. I just remembered your X post now. Will there be a template marketplace? And that's around Genie.
I don't know what that's really referring to. Templates as in things, templates. What there may be is things like, or what we are building into the product right now is things like some auto or like certain prompt templates are things that we do have sort of in the product as well, where you can kick it off and do like, okay, what are the typical things that your day looks like? Is like fix this bug, fix that bug, create a product requirements document with a certain format that Genie likes, and can yield better results, things like that. And other things that we're working on is integrations with other sort of platforms like your Sentries, we have Linear, Jira, things like that, and other places that engineers exist, right? So we want Genie to be in the places that you exist, like where the human exists, and be able to take feedback from that.
Yeah. He's also just followed up with, yes, any templates that can 5 times go faster as example use cases that you are confident with. Yeah.
And so kind of related, I guess, is what is next? What's on the horizon for Cosine? What features are you developing?
Oh wow, that's okay. That's great. That's a great question. So I was just overhearing my my CEO talking about some fun next things coming to the model. There's a lot of fun, exciting things at the model level, right? Is like we're trying to make Genie smarter and smarter every day. There's a lot of fun things at the product level, right? Of like how we take that model and we integrate it and where we put it. Like we're always shipping as quickly as possible. This week, as Hyper has been practicing her demo, we've been shifting all the UI around, so she had to re-practice it like 3 times because we're just shipping so much.
All for the better, though. All for the better. All good.
For the better. Things like it's all for that the experience, right? Like we noticed a lot of the time we hand work off to Genie, it gets quite far, but we'd love to just touch it up a little bit, so we now have an editor. We'd love to work. We've been having successes in parts where Genie gets quite far with something, and we'd love to pair more with it. We originally were like just want to hand it off completely. We've been having small successes with both the speed of how it inferences now and how quickly it comes to the decision, that actually now we're more able to pair with it. So we have some tools now or we're working on some tools where you can pair a lot more with Genie, where it works with you. And a lot of the future product focus as well is around running code bases. So you kind of give Genie like the same way when you employ someone and you onboard them, you give them a little MacBook, you give them a little machine, you tell them how to install stuff on it and how to run your code base. We want you to have that same ability with Genie, where you can give it a dev container and it'll go off and run code for you, run a browser, eventually you want it to see, maybe give it multimodal, but mainly be really, really good at working within your code base.
Awesome. And what can community members do if they want to help contribute? Is there testing? Is there code that they can contribute to?
Another great question. As a special thank you for anyone who's watching right now, and you guys giving us the floor now. We've been in waitlist for a while, but what I'm going to do for the next few hours is just turn off that waitlist. So if anyone does want to sign up to Genie right now, they can go ahead and do that. There's not really any community level way to contribute in terms of we're not open source in any sort of way, or we don't really have many open source components. We may have some in the AI sphere in terms of some things for running some things in the future. But as a thank you for anyone who is watching, if you go and sign up right now, any inferencing and chats or work that you do on there will be free for the next month. Or whatever, or whenever I remember to turn that off.
Thank you. Amazing. Well, we're actually coming up to time now. So thank you everyone for joining, and for both of you, obviously, for coming in and sharing what you folks are building at Cosine. I guess, Amy, do you want to go for the next?
Yeah, just if people want to stay in touch, where can they connect with you? Is there a social media that you prefer, or is there some other site where they can reach you?
I'm at on X. Oh yes, I actually got that right the first time. I'm Pandelis Z or Z, depending on your flavor of language. Or also at Cosine AI on X and your LinkedIn's and what have you. If you head to cosine.sh, that's our domain. There's you can sign up for the waitlist there as well if you want, or try and sign in and get access that way. Haifa, I don't know if there's any way that you want to promote.
Just promote Cosine, yeah, cosine.sh, and high fashion on LinkedIn and etc. So yeah, I hopefully have a few more posts up there on all things Cosine as we continue to build Genie and beyond.
Amazing. Thank you both so much. I'm just going to remove you both from the stage very quickly. Thank you, everyone, for joining in and being part of this session. We are back here next week. We've been doing a Vercel community live session for the last couple of weeks, and we're going to continue the streak. So if you want to learn more about our recent announcement with Fluid Compute, come and join us. I will share this in the chat right now. Click away, tell us you're coming and joining. It's going to be a really, really fun one where we speak to the Fluid Compute team. But yes, thank you again for everyone for joining, and we will see you again next week.